Oh, something different.
Luke chapter 19, verses 2 to 6. And behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. And he was seeking to see who Jesus was. But on account of the crowd, he could not, because he was small in stature. So he ran on ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today. So he hurried and came down and received him joyfully. For the next few days, I'd like to just look on a few lessons from the story of Zacchaeus. Now here we see a man who was rich, one who had accomplished much, but one who was also very hated, because the Jews hated the tax collectors. They hated the tax collectors for more reasons than one. First of all, a tax collector was seen as a traitor, because the Jews were not used to paying taxes. They were from a theocracy, so they paid tithes. But then here comes the Roman Empire and the Roman occupation. And so now they had to be paying taxes to their oppressors. And they really had an issue with that. They took umbrage to that. So what happens? Anyone who sought to make them pay taxes, they had a disliking for them. Now what was worse was when here comes a Jewish person, so one of their own, making them pay taxes, collecting taxes. They saw them as traitors. So they hated tax collectors. But they also hated tax collectors because the tax collectors were known to overcharge them and take the difference for themselves and make themselves wealthy from the surcharge. Now, of course, that was adding insult to injury, and so they hated them even more. Now imagine Zacchaeus, because Zacchaeus was not just a tax collector. He was a chief tax collector. He was head honcho. Yes. So what did that mean? He means that he was collecting himself and collecting from others who were collecting. And so they would have hated him even more. So Zacchaeus was hated by his own. But he was also very accomplished. He was rich. And he had a desire. He wanted to see Jesus. But the scriptures tell me that Zacchaeus was small in stature. He was short. And so he realized that his stature, his height, would affect his ability to see Jesus in the crowd. He identified his limitation. He acknowledged his limitation. Lesson number 1 from Zacchaeus. It is important to identify and acknowledge our limitations. Ignoring the limitations will not fix it. Being in denial will not help us. The first step in fixing anything is acknowledging and identifying it. And guess what? We all have limitations. Every single one of us. So our first step is to identify our limitations. What are your limitations? Do you know them? Have you stopped to look at them? Do we avoid people who point them out? Lesson number 1. Identify and acknowledge your limitations. Because if we do that, we begin the process of ensuring we can achieve more. Let's talk about that today. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. See you tomorrow when we look at more lessons from the story of Zacchaeus. God bless you.